Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome into the process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page to watch Process Alabama recruiting with yours truly. Alabama's coaching staff hit the recruiting trail pretty hard on last week, and they carried that momentum into the weekend as they were able to host 7 official visitors, including 5 guys who are currently verbally committed to Alabama and another 2 guys who are Alabama's 2020 targets, and 4-star outside linebacker Phillip Webb and 4-star offensive lineman Javion Cohen, who is currently verbally committed to Auburn University. I got a chance to catch up with Cohen after his official visit. You guys can check out that article on touchdownalabama.com as always. But before I dive deeper into where Alabama's coaching staff is heading into this weekend and what is going on in Tuscaloosa this weekend, I'm going to give a congratulations out to Alabama's 4-star athlete commit Christian Story, who helped lead Lynette High School to their 2nd state championship in school history, the 2nd football state championship in school history, in a game where Story scored 4 total touchdowns and was awarded the 1A state championship MVP award. So huge congratulations goes out to Story, and as well as Alabama's 3-star offensive lineman commit Seth McLaughlin, who helped Bruford High School secure a spot in the Georgia High School Athletic Association state championship. Him along with Alabama's 4-star running back commit Kyle Edwards, who helped Dishran High School secure a spot in Louisiana state championship. So huge congratulations goes out to those Alabama commits who were able to help lead their team to a state championship, and Story, who was able to help secure a state championship for Lynette High School. So congratulations goes out to all of those guys and all of those Alabama commits. In terms of Alabama's future recruiting efforts, 2022 defensive end and Thompson High School product Jeremiah Alexander released his top 3 on today, and he included Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. We will have more on that on touchdownalabama.com as always. Be sure to check out the article when I get a chance to interview Alexander about what went into his top 3. He's one of the top rated defensive ends in the 2022 recruiting class, and he's right in Alabama's backyard, by the way, at Thompson High School in Alabaster, Alabama. But I want to dive into where Alabama's coaching staff is doing this weekend on the recruiting trail today on the process. So with that being said, let's get the process started. Alabama's coaching staff is hitting the road this week, including Nick Saban, as he is projected to visit some of Alabama's commits and targets. One of those guys is Alabama's 5-star defensive end commit Chris Broswell out of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland. Alabama's head coach is also expected to visit Alabama's 5-star defensive end target Jordan Burch out of Columbia, South Carolina. Burch is a guy who took official visit to Alabama during LSU weekend. He is going to announce his decision during the early signing period. Alabama still looks to be in the mix somewhere. Burch has been pretty quiet about his recruitment, but Alabama was able to host him for an official visit, and now Nick Saban is coming in for an in-home visit. So this could be something where Nick Saban possibly puts Alabama more in the mix for Burch, as he will announce his commitment during the early signing period. Alabama's head coach will also make a stop in Florida this week, as reported. Timothy Smith, Alabama's 4-star defensive tackle target, is expected to see Saban sometime this week, as Nick Saban will make some stops across the country this week, including a stop to check out Alabama's 4-star JUCO defensive back target in Ronald Williams. So that is some of the stops that Alabama's head coach is going to make this particular week. Going back to what happened in Tuscaloosa on last weekend, Alabama had a pretty productive recruiting weekend, as Alabama was able to host those 7 official visitors, as I said, and I was able to catch up with Alabama's 4-star offensive line target Javion Cohen and Alabama's 4-star athlete commit Christian Story after their official visits, and both of those guys have said it was a big-time family atmosphere in Tuscaloosa over the weekend. And some of you may have seen Nick Saban was on Twitter basically dancing and having fun with those recruits' families and members of Alabama's coaching staffs, interacting with those particular recruits' families on their official visit, as they were able to spend some time at Nick Saban and Terry Saban's home and have a pretty nice time inside Tuscaloosa on Lake Tuscaloosa. It looked like a pretty nice event for that particular set of recruits and their particular set of parents. So I think it was a pretty productive recruiting weekend for Alabama in terms of them getting those guys on campus and getting them a chance to interact with some of the commits who Alabama had on campus. They had a chance to interact with some of the other commits who they may not have interacted with much before then. So it was a pretty nice weekend inside Tuscaloosa on this past weekend. Alabama will host another round of interesting official visitors on this weekend coming up, including guys like Joshua Eden, a 4-star cornerback out of Houston, Texas, Brian Robinson, a 4-star wide receiver out of Florida. They are also expecting some of their commits on campus for official visit, including 5-star outside linebacker Quandarius Robinson out of Jackson Olin High School in Birmingham, Alabama. Nick Saban visited Quandarius Robinson on this past week. He got a chance to catch up with Robinson at Jackson Olin High School. Alabama is also expected to host 2 of their wide receiver commits in the 2020 recruiting class. 2 guys who are expected to enroll early into the university, and 4-star wide receivers Thayou Jones-Bell and Trayshawn Holden. I think it's going to be good for Alabama to get those guys on campus at the same time, get them conversating, as Alabama will hopefully possibly have to lean on their future and freshman wide receivers if Henry Ruggs, Devonta Smith, and Jerry Jeudy was to declare for the NFL draft at the end of this particular football season, as it could come out later on this week where their decision will be. So that is something to be on the lookout for outside of recruiting those guys. Final decision if they're going to come back to the university or declare for the NFL draft. Alabama will also host their 4-star running back commit Kyle Edwards out of Louisiana, and another guy they're going to host, a guy who has been visited Alabama a couple of times during the season. Someone I think that is interesting that Alabama is still in contact with is Georgia commit and 4-star defensive tackle Nazir Stackhouse, who's been committed to Georgia for some time now. I think he's locked in with Georgia, but if Alabama was to possibly be in a position for a flip, I think this weekend it's going to go a long way, as he was going to be on campus at the University of Alabama. Nick Saban, just as he did last week, he's going to pull out the red carpet for these particular recruits on this weekend. Let them come out to his house, spend time on Lake Tuscaloosa, spend time in the Saban household, have fun with those particular recruits' families as well. So it's going to be another big weekend for Alabama on the recruiting trail this weekend. But to close out this particular episode of The Process, I do want to hit you guys with an interesting note, and that note is the fact that Ed Orgeron, LSU's head coach, visited Alabama's 4-star linebacker commit DeMaury Kennedy on today at Theodore High School. Kennedy took an official visit to LSU a week back, so that is something to keep an eye on, as LSU and Alabama is going to be in a recruiting battle, possibly going down the stretch. Although Alabama does have the commitment from DeMaury Kennedy, I think he's in a solid position, but LSU is still making that push, so it is something to keep an eye on with DeMaury Kennedy in Alabama. That would do it for this edition of The Process. As always, thank you guys so much for joining me today on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page and joining me on The Process Alabama football recruiting of yours truly. Be sure to subscribe to TouchdownAlabama.com. Download the Touchdown Alabama app. It is available on all phone platforms, including the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Be sure to call into The Process and leave your recruiting questions via voicemail at 205-440-3968. The number is at the bottom. As always, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am Justin Smith, the Scouting Recruiter for Touchdown Alabama Magazine.
And watch this.